This PowerPoint deals with the communications meaning concept. This is the portion of the paper ETU 103 titled as Developments and Resources in Education Technology. Let us have a look into the syllabus. So, Module 3, named as Communication and Classroom Interaction, has got two subtitles. First type subtitle 3.1 is Communication, Concept, Components, Types of Communication, Steps in Communication, Communication Cycle, Factors Affecting Communication, Barriers of Communication. And 3.2 deals with classroom climate, teacher behavior, Flanders interaction analysis, category system, that is FIACS, categories, procedures, and interpretations. But this PowerPoint will deal only with the meaning and the characteristics of communication. So, what is communication? Etymologically speaking, the word communication is derived from the Latin word communis, which means common. Communication means exchanging of ideas with someone. That means there need to be at least two people where we communicate, we exchange some ideas or some messages through some through a medium. The aim of communication is that the receiver, at the end, to whom the sender or the person communicates, should be able to interpret or to receive the information or the message or the idea that the sender is passing. That is, the communication is giving or receiving or exchanging of ideas or information, signals, or message through appropriate media, enabling individuals or group to persuade, to seek information, to give information, and to express information. Now, this is a formal definition of communication given by John Dare. With the exam point of view, this definition is of high importance. So the students are requested to memorize this definition of communication by John Adair. He states that communication is essentially the ability of one person to make contact with another and make himself or herself understood. He explains it very simply that communication is essentially the ability of a person to interact or to make contact with another and to make himself or herself understood. Now, there are other definitions given by William Newman and Charles Summer and now also by Louis Allen. Let's have a look on the other formal definitions of communication. First, we'll look into the definition given by William Newman and Charles Summer. Well, they define communication as an exchange of ideas, facts, or opinions or emotions of two or more persons. While Louis Allen states communication as is a bridge of meaning. That means it bridges meaning between two persons. It involves systematic and continuous process of telling, listening, and understanding. To summarize the whole concept, we may say that communication is an art, science, craft, as it involves creativity, verifying principles, and certain vital techniques. Now, it is a complex process. But since it is a learnable skill, one can become an expert in communication. Though it is a complex process, it is a skill which can be learned. And so it is not a static, but it is a dynamic process. That means there is scope for progress every time we make any effort. Now, we'll look into the basic characteristics of communication. Communication takes place through verbal and non-verbal medium. In the definition previously, we said that communication is an exchange of ideas through an appropriate medium. So here the medium could be verbal or non-verbal medium. Now let's look into what is verbal and non-verbal medium of communication. Verbal communication. Verbal communication refers to the use of sounds and language to relay a message. Relay a message in the sense to pass a message. It uses sounds and language. It serves as a vehicle for expressing desires, ideas, and concepts, and is vital to the process of learning and teaching. In combination with non-verbal forms of communication, verbal communication acts as the primary tool for expression between two or more people. Simply speaking, it is a use of sounds and words to express yourself, especially in contrast to using gestures or mannerisms, that is, non-verbal communication. An example of verbal communication is saying no when someone asks you to do something you don't want to do. And an example of oral communication could be a speech where you convey a message to a person or to a group of people. Now, there are four types of verbal communication. One is intrapersonal communication. This form of communication is extremely private and restricted to ourselves. That means we talk with ourselves. Then we have interpersonal communication. This form of communication takes place between two individuals and is thus a one-to-one conversation. That is a communication between two individuals. And then we have small group communication. For example, a group of people communicating or exchanging ideas. And we have public communication, where we have orators reciting out and talking to a large audience. For example, like a president of a country addressing to his countrymen. So these are the types of verbal communication. Non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication occurs without using any oral or written word. Instead of written or oral words, it relies on various non-verbal cues like physical movements, tasks, colors, signs, symbols, signal charts, etc., to express feelings, attitudes, or information. The many different types of non-verbal communication or body language include: first one, facial expressions. The human face is extremely expressive, able to convey countless emotions without saying a word. The best example could be the emojis that we use in our social media for communicating. Without typing a sentence, we can just put in emojis where we have the human face expressions in order to communicate large volumes. The other examples are body movement and posture, gestures, eye contact, touch, space, voice, etc. Now, Albert Mehraban in his statement makes it clear how important is nonverbal communication in a daily life. He states that 7% of meaning is communicated through spoken word, while 38% through tone of voice and 55% through body language. It means that an average person communicates the most through non-verbal medium of communication. Now, according to Jim Rohn, if you just communicate, you get by. But if you communicate skillfully, you can work miracles. So he emphasizes on the need of skillful communication. As we have seen earlier, communication is a skill which can be developed. And that's why it was said that it is not static but it is a dynamic. Though it is complex, it is still learnable.